So it is Friday night. It's Friday night here in the U.S. Friday there too, right?
Yeah.
So we're same day. And today we just wanted to take a second and really dig into the business that Diana has created over the past several years. And I say several years because it's always an idea, and then that idea gets cultivated, just like a seed gets cultivated in a garden, right? So, like we were just chatting about, I'll ask you a few questions. Is that all right, Diane?
Yeah, sure.
Then we'll see where it takes us.
Mm-hmm.
So, the first question would be, where did you first come up with the idea of your business?
So initially I just kind of fell into it. I graduated from a holistic nutrition program here in Calgary, close to where I live. And because of my background teaching, the first people that kind of reached out to me about sharing information were teachers. So it was classroom settings with athletes, and I just got to go in and teach what I knew, and it didn't look like it looks today. So it was like people often ask like, what was your plan? Like there really wasn't a plan. I had no plan. It just kind of happened and evolved. But for a long time, that was just sort of a stream of, I want to help people eat better. I love working with young athletes. I also see where a lot of adult people can use support with nutrition or have questions or, are looking for answers. And so I didn't really define anything. I did education and support for student athletes. And then I worked with adult clients as well. And it sort of was all a big mumble jumble. It's only been in the last little while that I've sort of streamlined things. So I still do both, but I have a much more like a focus in what I've created called GUTS, which is Evolving Student Athlete Nutrition. And I have like a sort of a streamlined, I don't know if you call it marketing, because I feel like a bit of a marketing amateur, but directed to that. And then I do other things that are directed to more of like the adult clientele that I work with. So it kind of all, I've always been a teacher. I've always wanted to help people. I think the nutrition piece was a big part of my journey. And then so was sport. So it all kind of, it was just all these pieces that were important to me, and they sort of evolved.
Mm-hmm. And you say no plan. And that's one of the themes that I hear from people, is that if you're passionate about something and you put one foot in front of the other and take action on it, whatever that action may be, you may not have a plan. And that plan, like you said, is going to evolve. So when did you realize, okay, well, now this is like really starting to get together pretty cool? What was something that occurred along the way where it was an aha moment for you?
In terms of the work with the student athletes, I landed again, not really with a plan. It just kind of was there, and we had a conversation. It was a fit, but I got the opportunity to work with the women's volleyball team in Calgary here at the university. And it was the first chance that I had to really sort of combine everything that I believed was really important for athletes. So it was a volleyball team, which I have a long experience in volleyball, so I knew the game, but then I was incorporating yoga, so recovery, they were resting properly, and then we were talking nutrition, and I got to work with this elite team of 19 athletes, and to see the transformation over 2 years, that they went from injured with no energy, struggling, to winning Canada West in 2 years. And like, so that was sort of like, I knew that it would work, but to actually see the result in that capacity was amazing. And that was, I was a part of that. There was also they brought in like a different practice strategy. There was a different trainer. There were a lot of moving parts, but it was this holistic kind of approach to athlete health and wellness that I got to be a part of and share what I could share. And it was amazing to see it. And that's sort of like when the light bulb went off, because I was still working with younger athletes. And I'm like, they need this now. Like, they don't need to wait until they're 19, 20, 21 and they've, they're burnt out and they're exhausted and they're hurt. They need it now, so that when they get to that level, they're not having these conversations about eating a salad before a 4-hour match. Like, they would have the foundation that they needed to really feel good and perform. So that was probably one of the points when I was like, this is something that I really want to focus on, and that there's a real need for, I think.
And we talked in one of our conversations about the foundation, the fundamentals. And I agree, the sooner that these young athletes are learning what foods are going to assist versus what foods are not going to assist, the better. And same when it comes to strength training. When we're working with young athletes, it's the fundamental strength, it's the foundational strength that is of utmost importance, especially at the younger ages, not necessarily the specific stuff, but just the general. So that's pretty neat. They won Canada West working with you for 2 years. That must have been pretty neat.
It was really cool. And again, I was part of a larger sort of shift that they went through, but I got to be a part of that and to see it like take shape the way that I think we have these ideas, these dreams, right? Like, I know that I have value to give, and I have, because we all have gifts that we get to share. But sometimes I think our lack of belief, or maybe we lack the proof, right? Because we haven't seen it happen yet for us or for them to see that actually happen. And then it's just whether we like to admit it or not, I think we can all benefit from that little bolstering, right? Of like, yeah, like, we did it. Like, that's what we wanted. It worked. So
yeah, you came together as a team, as a legitimate team. Everyone worked together on the same.
Yeah, it was awesome.
To circle back to the very beginning now, maybe that was step 2. Step 1 is when did the idea of holistic nutrition, when did that become a passion of yours?
When I was really sick. I was 21, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. And by the time I actually got diagnosed, I was really sick. Like, I was in the hospital for a month. I was like tube fed, almost in surgery several times. Like, it was pretty rough. And when I finally recovered and then got out of the hospital and was trying to like reintegrate into life, they kept telling me, well, taper off these medications this way, and then you should be good to go. And every time I tapered off the medications, I got sick again. So that probably continued for about 1.5 years. And so I was just like, what? Like, I'm 21 years old. Like, I can't live the rest of my life like this. So I went to see a naturopath, and they told me right away, did some testing. I had a whole bunch of food sensitivities. I was deficient in a whole bunch of nutrients because I'd been sick for so long. And as soon as we changed those things, it was like 3 weeks, and I started coming off medication that I hadn't been able to get off of in 1.5 years. And so it was just this real light bulb moment, if you call it that, of holy, like, this really makes a difference. And the whole time, like, thinking that I had been eating healthfully based on what we hear from the world around us and media and everything you find in the grocery store, right? Like, why would it be there if it's harmful for me? But never really understood that just we're unique, right? Like, I had different needs and I never knew them until this point in time. And so it was really that, like, it changed my life, like, fully, absolutely saved my life, probably. Just learning what my body really needed to eat. So that was probably the like point where I really developed an interest in it. Like, I wanted to know more.
Yeah. And then it grew to the point now where you're working with your ideal client base, and that's gotta feel pretty special in and of itself. Having the athletic population that you've been looking to work with for a while now, that's the majority of your client base. So that's pretty special.
Yeah. Well, I was an athlete, and it was pretty crazy experience to go from, playing college and then 6 months later not being able to walk up a flight of stairs, like in a hospital bed on pain medication all the time. It was like pretty significant differences.
Yeah.
So, not that all the athletes that I work with are going through that kind of an experience, but just like how fundamental nutrition is for our health and young people, whether they're in sport or not. Like, again, our world doesn't show us, most often anyway, what's really nourishing for our bodies. We don't get information about good quality food. We get information about what's easy and fast and what's cool.
That story, I'm sure, resonates with a lot of the athletes that you're working with too. Maybe they don't get as sick as you were, but they can get to the point where incorporating a holistic philosophy allows them to feel so much better and perform so much better on the field, the ice and the court.
I have a couple of pictures that I'll show sometimes, depending on the group that I'm talking to. One of them was when I was out of the hospital, but I was still pretty sick and all on prednisone. So I was all puffy and swollen, and like most people don't actually know that it's me. So I show them that picture, and then they see, and they're just like, oh my goodness. Like, not that the physical change, that's a change, but it's been also a lot of like an internal change. And so those are both things that we talk about, that it's what you see on the outside is really a reflection of what's happening on the inside.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. And I don't recall if we mentioned this on the last chat that we recorded, but your vision for Guts, your vision for your business, what is your ultimate vision?
It even sounds like, the little like devil on the shoulder, whatever, is like, Diane, that'll never happen, right? But then you just like, go away. It's to really change the culture of nutrition in youth sport, because there really isn't one at the moment. Change, or maybe I should say create a healthy culture of nutrition in youth sport. Yeah.
And that's across the board. That's Canada, US, that's across the board.
Yeah, it could be anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And anyone who listened in on our previous call about my habit of eating leftovers before practices and games, really heavy food, it's this type of information that can change the trajectory of a lot of these athletes, their path towards success and performing at their optimal level.
Yeah. So, I like that story that you shared, because I think sometimes when people think about nutrition, especially teens, right, they're like, she's going to come in and you have to go on a diet, or I'm not going to be able to have ice cream anymore, or, like, I think there's sort of that stigma. But really, I mean, and yeah, I want to encourage them to eat good quality foods, right? That's great. But it's also like just little strategies. Like, what do you eat before a match so that you can perform the best that you possibly can? How do you eat after so you can recover, so you're ready for the next match, right? Like, I think most young athletes are not getting that kind of information. And it takes so much pressure off of them, because then they're not, instead of being like, I sucked at that game, and I didn't make that mistake, and like they're so hard on themselves. Instead, they can look at it through a lens of this curiosity, right? Like, well, what did I eat before that match? Oh, yeah. Okay, maybe that wasn't the best choice. Okay, next time we get to do something different, right? Like, it just takes this heaviness off. But I don't find it's a lens that is offered really ever. Yeah.
Well, I see, and I'm sending good energy that your vision comes to fruition.
Thank you.
You're certainly working hard at it and getting the word out.
Yeah.
What are you loving most about, because an underlying topic for tonight, and we'll touch on this, I'm sure we'll expand on this in future conversations if you'd like to do that. But what are you loving most about having your business, having your own brand, your own entity?
I think one of the things that really resonates with me is that I'm a fairly, I'll say emotional. I don't mean like weepy. I mean, like, I feel a lot. I always have. And when I actually got specific, and I guess you could call it the niche or whatever you want, had that focused group of people that I wanted to work with, I could relate on a feeling level with them, and I get to share that. So that feels good for me, because I get to talk about what's the underlying feeling of these changes that are going to happen for these young athletes. And having been the coach for a long time, I've seen the struggles, right? And I've seen those feelings. And so I'm like, that does not have to be the reality of your experience. And so I think, again, that getting specific enough to really be able to speak to their challenges and what the solutions are has been way more fun than I ever thought it could be. I avoided that whole niche conversation for a long time. I'm like, no, but I don't only want to work with athletes. I also want to work with adults, and I also want to work with people with, all I'm learning that it makes things a lot harder, actually, because you'd have to do way more work to prepare for all of that.
Yeah.
So it's been way more fun than I ever expected to be able to just really relate and share content about, the feelings behind it all. Because that's kind of how my brain works.
That's awesome. And you have the business piece of it, but it sounds like the emotional aspect of business, because business has a lot of components to it, and it sounds like that emotional, seeing the positive changes occurring really touches your heart. Really, really, it's special for sure.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you love the least?
Yeah.
About having your own brand, your own entity?
Yeah, the idea of being fully responsible for something, and there's no one that I can blame or dump things onto, or that this is, if it's going to work, if it's going to go, if I'm going to impact people, then I have to show up. And I say that as liking it the least. I don't like that the least. I like that it pushes me, but there are certainly moments where you have to check yourself, right? Be like, look, self, what are we doing here today? Are you going to make this happen? Are you going to go sit in your hole because you're not feeling it today, or whatever it is, right? You have to show up. Certainly you also have to understand when you need to give yourself a break and have grace for yourself and all those things, but you gotta go for it.
It's ultimate action to take ownership.
Yeah. Well said.
Jocko's book
for sure
talks about extreme ownership. Jocko Willink. And on those days where you feel like you just want to sit back, kick your feet up, what gets you going? What prevents you from doing that?
I think just kind of reconnecting with my why. Why is this actually important to me? How do I want this to play out? That it's that internal conversation again of why is this important? And if I just sit back and do nothing, am I gonna serve people the way that I want to serve people? Well, no, probably not. I've had different experiences with different mentors along the way and talking about the importance of the why. And I've had moments where fully buy into it, and moments where I kind of lean out and I'm just I've heard about the why so many times, right? That it's just like, it becomes a little bit almost cliche, but it is a truth. Like, it's something that's true for you, and you have what, if you want to call it divine or whatever, like there's a purpose there for you that makes you feel good when you share it. And so that's, I guess, whether you call that a why or a goal or whatever, that's kind of what I come back to when I'm wanting to crawl into my hole.
Running, jumping jacks, meditation, breathing, glass of water, glass of tea, anything to, for me at least, anything to just shift gears.
Yeah,
Change
totally.
the state. Tony Robbins, Mel Robbins, they all talk about changing your state and just taking you from where you are to where you want to be. Takes a lot of times movement, and like you said, think about your why. I'll sometimes write my why down on my mirror with dry erase marker.
Yeah.
Just draw it out, and then as I'm looking at the words to describe my why, well, I'm looking right there at myself too.
Yeah.
So as I'm looking at my thing, and in the background I'm seeing myself, well, right as I'm writing the why, seeing myself, my subconscious mind is like, dude, you gotta take some action.
Yeah.
You gotta get out there and take some action now. So there's not much that you love the least having your own gig then. When your emotion is that high, and when you're helping people and you're impacting people, you're offering solutions like you do, that other stuff, the stuff that you may not enjoy all that much, I mean, that kind of fades, right?
Yeah. I think too, it's like, I was thinking about this today as I was shoveling rock, helping my husband, and it was hot. I'm like, oh my gosh. But I was like, really, there's nowhere else I'd rather be in this moment. Like, because it's my values, right? I think that's another thing that we can pull our business back to, is like, what do you value? And I don't mean like honesty and integrity. Like, yeah, those are important things for me too. But it's like, what do I really value? It's time with family. And I get to work here with my husband today. It's freedom of time so that I can pick my kids up from school or drop them off and go watch their baseball or swim practice after, and those are things that I wouldn't have if I hadn't taken the leap to leave the security of my full-time teaching career and the pension and the blah, like all of that. I wouldn't be able to do that. And so it's, I think, also coming back to like, what is the really important things that you value in your life? My health also, right, is first and foremost on my list always. And I don't know if I would be thriving in a full-time teaching career, right? So I think that's a big part of the why that we give everyone else, how we serve, but also like what is important for us in our life, like so that we can enjoy it. What kind of a career is going to match the way that you want to live? Those were big questions I had to ask myself too, because going back to teaching would be easier, more secure, paycheck just rolls in every month, but I wouldn't fit,
And it wouldn't send shivers up your spine. I like to use, I share stories of that because there's certain scenarios I've been in where I have the fortune and the honor to be helping someone. Say I'm working with an athlete to get him past an elbow. Say I'm working with a pitcher, help him get past an elbow injury. And I'm teaching them to throw with their legs, to use their legs more than they're using their upper body. Their upper body is just kind of going along for the ride. You want to protect that upper body. And as I'm teaching them, they're totally engaged in what I'm sharing with them. They're into it. They're asking you awesome questions. We got this energy ball. Napoleon Hill talks about it in Think and Grow Rich. He talks about that third brain that forms, right? Yeah. Kind of like on these calls, these questions that I'm asking, your responses, the conversations that we have, we're pulling off of that imaginary third brain that ideas otherwise may not have surfaced. So I have that conversation and it's like, it sends shivers up my spine, and it just feels good because it's this flow, this synergy of energy. And it's not something that maybe some people don't even recognize it. Some people don't even understand where it's coming from. But because you've understood, number one, you've recognized it, and you know where it comes from. You know what types of people to work with, where that's going to flow. That energy is going to flow. Then it's not work. You know, we're talking business, but it's not really work. People say, no, I don't work a day in my life if you're doing what you love to do. And I mean, this is one of those life is good cups.
Oh yeah.
And it's probably backwards there, but it says do what you like what you do. And another version of that is do what you love what you do.
Yeah.
So when you're doing what you love, it doesn't feel like work. And I'm blessed to be surrounded by people, yourself included, who do what they love. And it's like, I don't work a day in my life.
Yeah.
And they have the income. And what I wanted to lead into, unless you had did you have any other points you wanted to make regarding your business and any other gems of wisdom that you wanted to offer others who maybe, as we talked about in the last call, anyone who's on the fence kind of looking to start their own brand or start their own business?
I would just say surround yourself with the people that are already where you want to be. So like one of my brother kind of leapt into I'd been doing my own business for a longer period of time, but I wasn't making the waves, I will say, that I wanted to make. And he jumped into his own consulting business and took off. And I just grabbed on to him, and I'm like, I want to know everything that you're doing. So it's been months and months and months, over a year. We have like weekly, at least one calls where we mentor each other. We learn from each other. And I think that's you step into this, I'm going to run my own business or be an entrepreneur, and that you have to do it all alone, but you don't. And you shouldn't. Like, there's so much community out there of people that are trying to do this, to like do the thing that they love, that they know is true for them, that they get to share. So just like grab on to those people, seek them out, ask to talk to them. Like most of them are just like, yeah, I'd love to share it with you. Right.
Keep them in your circle of five. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, that's what the last piece, I would just be like, just find those people.
I think it was, I'm all about quotes tonight.
I love it. I love quotes.
Yeah, me too. I put a quote on my mirror at the office. I put quotes on our mirrors here, dry erase marker. Tim Ferriss, I think, said it at one point. I'm sure other people have said this too, but you become the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. And if you're surrounding yourself with those people, like you said, who've already accomplished what you want to accomplish, and you're just kind of pulling on their coattails and asking them, what do I do next? It's just, you ask the next step, you do the next step. You ask the next step, you do the next step. You ask the next step, you do the next step.
Yeah.
Which leads me to just a quick, we'll expand on this, because I enjoy how our calls, we have a topic, but then if we don't get to a particular topic, we'll just set up a follow-up call, because I'm sure we could have a full-on call about this. And that is those people out there who are looking to get on the other side of the fence and create something of their own, have it in their heart, maybe have tried for the last year, couple years, 15 years to get something going, and there's just been something holding them back. So maybe we can set up another call to talk about, what are some of the hangups that people are having out there. And kids these days, when you talk to teenagers, there's so many different ways to earn income, to create income. Than when I graduated.
Many more than when we grew up. Oh yeah.
It is truly amazing.
Yeah.
And when it comes to, you talk to Robert Kiyosaki, you talk to some of the big economists, and they're talking about college and the necessity of college and the ability to create income online these days. So many different ways. So when we talk to our kids and we talk to teens or kids who are about to graduate high school, it's exactly what you shared earlier, Diane. It's what are you passionate about? What do you love doing? What are some things that you enjoy? What are some things that send those shivers up your spine? After that question is answered, how are we going to create income around that? Let's figure out how to generate revenue around that passion, around that love, and ultimately create one stream of income or two streams of income or multiple streams of income to help these youngsters create their own economy. And I'd love to, if you're open to it, we can set up another call to talk about a few of those types of topics and expand on those. Does that sound cool?
Yeah.
I really enjoyed your sharing about your business tonight. And I love how it's rooted from the heart, it's rooted from really impacting lives and helping young athletes be the best that they can possibly be. And a lot of that comes from the foods they're putting in their body, the foods that their bodies are absorbing, and having you as that guide to offer. At times it's a plan, but I think what we talked about is a lot of times it's like general info, just to say, you know what, we don't want to make this too complex for you. Here are a few points. If you put these points in action, like what to eat the day before, what to eat the few hours before, when to hydrate, how to hydrate, what do you want to hydrate with? Do you want to just use water? Do you want to use the electrolyte drinks? That type of thing is I'm so glad that you shared it, because I know I'm surrounded by a lot of younger athletes, lacrosse players, soccer players, baseball players who could use these tidbits, and it changed the trajectory of their career. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
So we'll chat offline about setting up another one of these, and anyone who's got feedback can certainly reach out. And it's been a great Friday night. I know you guys have some plans to chill out, so I think I'm gonna do the same, and we'll stay connected for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the invitation to the conversation.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll chat again soon.
All right, enjoy your Friday.
You too. Where's the thing? There it is. Okay.